What's going on, everybody? 360 Digital Closing Bell here. We're live on YouTube from an undisclosed location here in Denver, Colorado on this gorgeous Wednesday, September 2nd, 2020. As always, I'm your humble correspondent, Michael Turner, joined by the executive producer of the show, the purveyor of the show, and the director and publisher of the world's greatest website, oilandgas360.com, Stuart Turley. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and we are busy.
We are busy today. We have a wild show for you guys. Crude oil inventories numbers are out. Huge draw numbers, of course, with Hurricane Laura coming in. Lonestar Resources up big because they got some help from regulators as we were expecting. The Chevron CFO has some very interesting quotes to go along with their CEO talking about some green stuff. U.S. regulators back Energy Transfer Partners. Who would have guessed in a pipeline dispute? New Mexico fines friends of the show DCP and Energy Transfer Partners. And as always, guys, Stu will cover stuff with the international news day, and we'll cover everything on the equity markets. But guys, just subscribe. 360 Digital Closing Bell, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, the best way to stay up to date on all of your energy finance. And we look at the overall markets today, up big. SPY was up 1.5 percentage points. NASDAQ finished 12,400, up 1 percentage point. Dow Jones finished up 1.5 percentage points. So it's really weird. Normally we've seen tech stock, which is the NASDAQ, outperformed heavily the other two indices. Today, you see SPY and Dow Jones beating the tech stocks, with means, if you're an equity strategist, that's what we would call maybe a market rotation, a little bit shifting away from some of the tech heavy stocks into some of the more industrial durable goods, which generally seen as a time of people are expecting something to happen here. So I think traders are sort of taking profits, embracing what could happen next, whether it's a second wave of coronavirus or if, like today we had an economic APD jobs number dropped, only 429 private sector jobs created last week. We were expecting 1.1 million. So not a very good numbers line up there. On the crude oil side, things got hit hard today despite good DOE inventory numbers. We expected a big draw both on production and inventory levels. We got that. Oil's still down though, $1.22 or about 2.8 percentage points down to 41.54. Back end of the curve gets hit just a little less, 1.5% on the downside, 44.50. Natural gas stays fairly flat, only down about 2 cents to $2.50 even. 12-month strip though actually gains a half a percentage point, $3.20 even. That's a 17-cent rise. XOP, which is our E&P securities contract, did not do well today, down 2.5 percentage points, 49.93. First time trading below 50 here in about for about 4 weeks now. OIH, oilfield services contract, 123.55. It's down about 1.3 percentage points, $1.64 on the downside. When we look at our equities on the downside, some numbers you recognize. SM presented at the conference down to the oil and gas conference, down to $2.09. That's about 9.5 percent. Slide U.S. Energy Corporation, not who presented at the oil and gas conference. Another one, they're down 8.5 percentage points. Sandridge Permian Trust down 9.2 percentage points, down to 36 cents. And Mexico Energy Corp down 9.5 percentage points to $4.48. On the upside, though, some big numbers. Battalion Energy Corporation, $8.52, up 6.5 percentage points. We love ourselves. High Point Resources up 6.5 percentage points, up to 30 cents. Great website they got. Sundance Energy up 13.5 percentage points, $2.08, and up big. Lonestar Resources, ticker symbol OLONE, up 39.09 percentage points to 37 cents off some news, which we will cover on the U.S. shale side. But first, we have to get to the international news desk. Stu, what's going on?
Well, in our podcast the other day, we did around the world in 80 seconds. We got to go around the world again. There's just way too much stuff going on.
I got to buckle up first.
Oh yeah, buckle up. Get your flight suit on. Our first stop around the tour of the world is Iraq. Iraq is asking for exemption from OPEC export deal next year.
Really?
They're doing everything illegal anyway. Why not ask for an exemption? It's kind of like,
Iran generally follows the philosophy it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Oh, well, hey, what's a few billion between friends?
What's a couple sanctions broken between frenemies?
The next one, Michael, you and I have had some really interesting discussions over the last few days about coal, fossil fuels being actually called, like our blue hydrogen is actually natural gas. We had another one where they had coal and they're calling it, green coal.
Yep.
Well, it's natural gas crushed into it. Now, here's another one. You ready for another day?
I'm ready for it.
Mitsubishi cuts the decarbonization first green hydrogen package. Nice. Of storage for wind and solar. Okay. Nice big batteries. Guess what it is? A natural gas plant.
What did you expect? And I think I mentioned to you this morning at some point. It's the sleight of hand that they're doing. They did it with climate change. It was originally called global warming. Now all of a sudden it's climate change because you just got to make sure in case it goes cold, we had ourselves covered. Now they're doing the same thing with clean. They're, in 5 years, they're going to be like, what? Natural gas was always part of the solution. When it becomes obvious to them that there's no way to move forward in a balanced U.S. energy supply without natural gas. So we're on the same page there. And we're calling it out here.
We are, Michael, and you and I are writing an article on this humorous topic. So we'll be having that out for our folks. Next one, we're rolling around the world here to Chevron, and I thought it was just as funny as could be. Let's see, we got this from the CEO. I really appreciate in a summary the CEO saying, oil and gas is here to stay, and we're only going to dabble in the green and the solar and the power. You have BP that is just going all in. They're saying, hey, we're migrating to be a solar and wind farm. And then you have Chevron being realistic about it. I applaud them for that. The CEO was very well articulated on this. 2 to 3 weeks ago, another article came on it, and then you told me this morning you just saw another one.
Well, I noticed last week I saw there was an article dropped with their CFO, who talked about and the quote I pulled, it was an interview with Jeffries. He said there are too many CEOs per BOE, and I thought it was really interesting in light of the Noble Energy acquisition. I mean, he's basically saying what I think a lot of people say: consolidation needs to happen, but it's great to see from the top level they're not completely diving headfirst into the stuff at Chevron. But I thought that was a super interesting quote. You could run that story. We ran that story on the International News Desk. Anything else?
Oh no, we're gonna go around the world again tomorrow. I got some stuff.
What about? I thought ExxonMobil announced they were doing some layoffs in Australia.
Yes. Sorry, yeah. There's two things there. ExxonMobil in Australia is they are going to be doing major cuts around the world, and Exxon Australia is the first stop. So our hearts go out to those folk, and then it's just awful. The other one is the Australian coal plant for they're increasing their coal. Here's where a little hypocrisy comes in. BHP is not going to get charged against their green their CO2 output quota in order to make themselves green, because they're exporting the coke coal out of Australia, and that coal is not being counted against their CO2. I don't know how that one got around. So I think my head
that's interesting.
I'm having a headache trying to figure out how in the heck all this stuff is calculated anymore.
Yeah, it really is tough to know. It's a great thing, and I think I've got enough frequent flyer miles. I think I'm going to take the rest of the week off and go to Hawaii at this rate. Covered on the U.S. share side, just a couple things, guys. As you mentioned, Lonestar Resources up 39.1 percentage points, up to 37 cents. Why? Well, remember on July 1st, they missed an interest payment of $14 million on their 11.25% senior notes. On July 31st, they entered into what's called a forbearance agreement, which gave them 30 days from August 1st to August 30th to figure out what to do. Well, on yesterday, September 1st, they filed an 8K talking they had extended to September 15th. So continuing to roll this down does not look good, though. Generally, when you continue to get extensions on interest payment, it means your debtors are not do not like the terms of your Chapter 11 bankruptcy, because a lot of times they like to get pre-approval from all parties before they go and actually declare bankruptcy. So it's a much smoother process. So this is not a good sign if you're a Lonestar Resources shareholder, but the market did like it. They did trade it up a little bit. Be interesting to see who a lot of those trades were. As I mentioned, the Chevron CFO coming out last week and saying there are too many CEOs per BOE. They clearly think consolidation is in the near future. We will see on that front. Also, U.S. regulators back Energy Transfer Partners in a pipeline dispute with Chesapeake Energy. Remember, guys, Chesapeake Energy has declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy, looking to downsize about $7 billion of their debt. They're the largest company in the past couple of years to actually declare bankruptcy in the energy space. They have a $600 million pipeline commitment with Energy Transfer Partners that they are seeking to actually get out of, and they're having to bring FERCA involved. Guys, remember, pipeline contracts are much different than the average contract. It takes a lot to get out of these. So what really needs to happen is the U.S. regulators have to come and figure it out. Chesapeake wants to cancel it. U.S. regulators basically are saying no. They've put up a stonewalled right now, and as it looks of it, you can check this story on the oil and gas BTCs. Chesapeake's going to lose this one, which isn't good. That's a $300 million per half year contract with Energy Transfer to deliver oil volumes. Woo-hoo! That's going to be tough trying to navigate through Chapter 11. We will see if that has any effect to do that. Talking about the regulation side, New Mexico came out today and fined DCP Midstream and Energy Transfer Partners $7 million for violating permitted emission limits in 2017 and 2018. Ironically, they announced it via Twitter, which I thought was extremely fascinating. But yeah, emissions reporting $7 million. So,
did you say they announced that via Twitter?
Yeah. I couldn't find any article other than the tweet that the New Mexico Environmental Protection Agency put out. So that's what we linked to the story here. But 7 million bones, not cheap.
Are they trying to be like Trump, tweeting everything instead of like calling a press conference? I don't know.
I think for environmental and political reasons, when you want to fine an energy company, it probably makes sense to put it on Twitter, where you might get some traction from the majority of Twitter, who may or may not be fairly left wing. So it's just my thoughts randomly. Stu, did we miss anything today on the 360 News Desk?
I don't know. I don't think so, but we are busy and we got a lot of good things happening.
We got a lot of good stuff happening, guys. We will be covering everything. We shot some great interviews today on the Energy 360 podcast. But with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and let you get out of here and get back to work. Thank you for checking out the 360 Digital Closing Bell here on the world's greatest website, oilandgas360.com. We will see you guys tomorrow for the digital ticker.